everybody, and welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase where I'm delighted to be introducing RentProfile today, and we have Cohen here from RentProfile. How are you, sir? You okay?
I'm very well, thanks, Simon. Yourself?
Commercial lead, I need to make the point. I always forget to point this out. And you have brought with you, well, we're expecting a happy client. As I said, otherwise it would be a very strange choice of there. But we've got Ed Crowther here from Agent and Homes. So I believe you've been using the various services that these guys have, Ed, haven't you? And are keen to share the love, as it were, to talk about what they actually do.
Yeah, we have indeed. Thanks for having me. We've actually just recently moved all our tenancy progressions to RentProfile. So yeah, we're really pleased, happy to be on and give my honest opinion. Yeah.
Excellent, good. Well, that's what it's about, isn't it? I think it's, it's really, really important, as well as, it's so easy to kind of be an industry's best kept secret, obviously, because there's not too many places you can find out about this. So people like you taking the time out to share that, the feedback of the good ones is what it's all about. So I do thank you for taking the time to do that. So when we were talking about the title of this, Cohen, in terms of we were talking about the title being Lettings Simplified, Complete New Tenancies in as little as 20 minutes. I mean, that's going to catch, obviously, a lot of people's attention and make them hang on here. But could you just give us a bit of background about the business itself, RentProfile, so that people who are coming to watch you for the first time get a bit of context of where you've come from?
Absolutely. So the business was started a few years ago by Paul and David, and who are brothers, the co-founders, and actually was a result of, so David, one of the brothers, was basically part of a scam. Well, he was scammed. He wasn't doing the scamming, whereby he had transferred the first month's rent and the tenancy deposit for a property to a landlord that effectively they didn't own. And if it were me, Simon, I would put that down as sort of bad luck and move on from it. But being a tech wizard, he decided to build a solution that would allow tenants almost to do a reverse check on a landlord. Let's check if they're legitimate. Let's see if they own the property, etc. And that expanded, and agents started to get in touch and say, look, well, we kind of run these checks on our landlords as well. And can we use the technology? And also sort of tenant referencing is a bit hit and miss. So the company really expanded out of that. And tenant referencing has been our bread and butter for the last few years. Yeah. And it's only really in the last year, sort of in the pre-COVID times, that we've launched onboarding, which is this automated pre-tenancy product that we're talking about. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And obviously, I always love those kind of origin stories. There, it's not quite Avengers, is it? But I think it's relevant for us, and I think it's really, really good because it's, as you said, most of us would have just moved on and put it down to bad luck. But actually, to understand, to really feel that pain and actually think that there's something more to be done is quite interesting. And from that, what was the natural development to go into the onboarding thing? Did it just feel like the natural place to move to next? Or was there another? He didn't get a second
scamming. No, not at all. It's actually happened, and Ed will probably attest to this as well, quite naturally out of conversations with our clients, which is where all of our product updates seem to come from. We're not the industry experts. That's what our clients do. They feed it back to us. And so it came a little bit after the tenant fees ban, when obviously not being able to charge any fees meant that agents were saying, look, as well as the referencing, we need to put down really clear referencing criteria, because otherwise, if a tenant fails, we can't keep that holding deposit just because we've sort of said, no, we don't feel you're fit for the property. So we said, that's fine. We can create this referencing criteria that's dynamic, right? So let's say it was £1,000 a month rental. We're going to display to the tenant and say, hey, Simon, you need to be employed or self-employed or high net worth individual with at least 30K. So that was fine. And then we realized, well, actually, the sort of step in between that is the holding deposit. It's the taking of that securing of the payment for the tenancy. So we said, well, look, what we can do is we'll take that as well. And as these things tend to actually snowball a bit, we ended up doing every step sort of up to the point where you would effectively check in the tenant. And that's how the product came together, and it aligns with everything we try to do at RentProfile, which is making the life a lot easier, getting rid of the admin and making sure that everything's compliant and up to date. And so where we've ended up with the product is that at that point that a renter sort of shakes your hand, or, well, shakes your hand pre-COVID and says, yes, I want to take this property, our agents simply fill in a form, takes up to a minute, and then we take care of the rest. We automate that agency terms, the referencing criteria, the holding deposit, which we can take via card, bank transfer, Google Pay, Apple Pay, the referencing, creating the tenancy agreement and the signatures, right through to auto registration of the tenancy deposit, kicking back the certificates, and even setting up standing orders on behalf of our agents. So really all you do is hand over the keys and sort of get back to winning the new business.
Because famously, thanks for the context there. So famously, it is a part of the business that can get swamped in admin, can't it? And anything that can be done to help out on that side. I mean, it certainly seems there's a lot of stress for the smaller lettings agents who are just saying, I've had enough, increased compliance leading to increased admin and everything else there. It's just becoming harder and harder to make a decent living out of it. So Ed, from your point of view, just talk us through how you got to know these guys, what first caught your attention, and then we'll get on to the onboarding experience as well.
Well, we actually started out, I'll not name them, but with one of RentProfile's competitors.
Yeah.
And, that was fine. And then alongside that, towards the end of that contract, we started trialing RentProfile. And I'm sure, as we'll come on to, from my experience, there's far more features now on RentProfile. And from our point of view, I mean, the main thing is it's going to allow us to scale up our business. So, we operate where agents are self-employed. So we don't just have 6 agents in an office. So we want to have multiple agents across the country, being able to do multiple tenancies all at once and process them. And it's been great. We took on quite a big lettings hitter from a big corporate a couple of weeks ago, and I just gave her a very brief overview before the training of RentProfile. And the word she used from her old place, the way they were doing it, that kept coming up, was archaic. And it's still done the old-fashioned way. And it's so easy once you get into it. The custom clauses in particular make it really easy to process a tenancy in pretty quick time.
I feel like we could stop the interview there, to be honest. Once you described what the other experience was as archaic, it doesn't take much, does it, to go the other way? But I'm sure there's more context there. I'll tell you what I'd love to jump into though, because of course there are other providers in this space out there, and I think you just alluded to that. What did you feel really made a difference? I think you just said they were fine, weren't they? So it was just that these guys did more in each area, was it, just to make it more more useful? What was the key thing for you that you felt was set these guys apart?
It was the RentProfile client-led. So we were giving the other people in RentProfile the same suggestions, i.e. alert alarms a month before safety certificates expire. Are you going to get to the stage where you're going to help us protect our deposits to save us more admin time? And it very simply, RentProfile, as and when they built these things in and made it a more complete platform, the other people didn't, and it was a no-brainer at that point.
So really, it's just that onus of having a company that actually listens to you and takes that on board. Because as Corin rightly said there, if you've got the clients and they're forward-thinking, whisper it quietly, you don't have to be the most innovative around yourself, do you? As long as you listen to those and put their experiences into the product, and that quite often will keep you ahead of the competition just by that simple process. I'm sure Corin's got loads of great ideas as well, but those two working together is a pretty powerful combination, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I said, it's getting so much more complete. Corin actually came to see me in the autumn last year, and they're talking about building application funnels at the start. So I can visualize where it's growing, and we're kind of similar-ish age companies, and we're sort of disruptor companies, and it's nice to work together and grow together.
Yeah, nice common mindset there, isn't there? So what did in terms of the onboarding product itself, what was the pain point it was trying to solve for you mainly?
Me?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Well, I think, in terms of when we introduced it to our agents and onboarding, I think, so the only slight negative from 1 or 2 agents, the more higher end agents, is that it lacks a personal touch. And I think that was, and again, it's getting away from the old ways of working to the new ways. And I get it, we work in Notting Hill, West London, and it's a more old school mentality perhaps, and people are used to maybe being mailed draft tenancies and that sort of thing. But look, the world is going ever more digitally, and virtually all of our agents have adapted well to it. It works smoothly. They can use it on the go. I mean, they can almost get to the stage where, you know, they can process an offer. If they've got a really hot property, they can process an offer on the street there and then. One of our agents, Tim, has done that on the, and immediately you could take the deposit, the security deposit. Again, our accounts don't have to then take that off the first payment. RentProfile does it automatically.
Yep.
And by and large, it's been a very smooth process. Yeah.
Well, Cohen, if you don't turn that, was it Tim you were saying there, if you don't turn that into an Apple-esque style advert with him stood on the corner there, you're missing a trick. But that's not for me to teach you how to suck eggs there. I think you've highlighted that though, Ed, isn't it? One of the largest challenges I say it in my old school where I used to be a CRM provider or work for them, and to many businesses now, actually the biggest challenge we've got is not competitor products per se, it's actually changing a mindset, isn't it? It's just that change element. You know, the market is plenty big enough. It's the agents that are going to get stuck in this is the way we've always done it that are going to be left behind the curve without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, and that's the same with the amount of actual business the agents do. The ones who have had enough of the old way, the corporate lifestyle, the ones who embrace new technology, who want to work in a more sort of leaner, smarter way, use the best technology, they're the ones who are thriving in the new way we're doing things.
I'd agree with that as well. I think the key here is making sure the bits, you know, the admin bits. I always say you take registering a deposit as a good example. It's not something that you necessarily get better at over time. You can either do it or you don't, and God forbid you forget to. But actually, those bits at the end of the process, when, you know, maybe it's returning a deposit, managing a sort of landlord's expectations, negotiating with a renter, those are bits that do take skill. And that's where we want to allow sort of our clients to be able to focus on, is on the people side of the business. We'll take care of the paperwork. You let it and forget it.
The clues in the name, Cohen, Simon. So I'm going to go simple Simon here. I like things really easily to break down. What would you describe, looking at it across your client base, as the three main USPs of this onboarding product?
Great point. I would say absolute first one is to let properties faster. It's as simple as that. So this is, and you know, Ed would know better than me on this, but I think it's the most admin heavy part of the lettings process. Sort of once they're in, hopefully they pay their rents on time. You might get a call about a broken boiler at 3 a.m., but otherwise everything goes smoothly. But right at the beginning, it's all that admin, all that compliance. And I think even during COVID, there were 40 different new pieces of legislation that sort of came in for letting agents and landlords. So actually keeping on top of that, which is another of the USPs for us that we take on board. So whether it's, for example, if the government drops a new how to rent guide on a Friday at 4 o'clock, as they tend to do, you know, we'll pick that up. We'll put those necessary clauses into the AST and those changes. And the third thing I suppose I would say is probably around our referencing, because we haven't touched enough on that. I think referencing, there are a few companies in this space and everyone can sort of do bits of it quite well, and tech can do that, but referencing is what I think makes us stand apart. On average, 95% of our checks, of our reports, will come back within a day, and we run twice as many checks. So what that means is we end up actually approving more renters. So I'd say a 20% uplift in approvals, particularly for self-employed and business owners. So those would be my top three.
Now, thank you for summarising that, and Ed, that's your experience of it as well. Just to reiterate.
I'm trying to give three things. Number one is obviously the ability to process multiple tenancies in a modern and expedient way. That's definitely one of the best things. Second one for me, I oversee all the lettings here, is compliance. So as I said, they've now built in alarms. So when your gas safety, EICRs, EPCs are expiring, it's a real simple way. All the tenancies in one place. Your alarms are going off 4 weeks before, and you can get those things sorted. And I like just going back, I like the philosophy. They're the same philosophy as us. It's changing the way that the industry is going into a more modern way of working. And those are the three things I'd say.
That's really, really useful to get it from your point of view as well. So so one thing I think worth touching on there, Cohen, as well, is you talk about the referencing. There's been obviously a huge amount of change in that space. And I think the perception for many agents is that it's actually getting a bit kind of commoditized, isn't it? And what you were talking about there does not come from one of these really, really cheap off the shelf propositions, doesn't it? You need to have that, you know, you get what you pay for mentality to deliver on that service.
I'd absolutely agree, son. I think this has become incredibly commoditized. There's so many suppliers in the market. Some of them are even free now, not even just being a couple of pounds per reference. But I think we've never been the cheapest in the market. We've always been the best. And that is, you know, if you look at Trustpilot, we are the highest rated in the UK by both agents and tenants. Yeah. But I mean, even down to things like new technologies that are coming out, some of which are very useful. I take open banking as being a prime example. I think you've had guests on here talk about this before, and I would reiterate it, that some companies are beginning to say, you know, open banking is the reference, whereas we see it, we use open banking when we need to, but we see it very much as a tool in your kit. It's not the reference. It's a very useful technology, particularly for validating self-employed or some other, you know, individuals. The challenge, I think, around it is it doesn't tell you if someone is on probation, which 1 in 5 employees don't pass. Doesn't tell you if they're working their notice on the other side. And also, I think, whilst I do think it will become more mainstream as a technology, it's a little bit like being asked to sort of put your credit card details on the internet back in 1999. People are going, whoa, 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 definitely not doing that. So, you know, been told all your life, don't give the login details to your bank. And then suddenly this app comes along and tells you to do it. So we have other ways of validating that. We use it when we need to. But I think absolutely our referencing, it's the fastest. We're incredibly thorough. I think it's an important thing. And I think to save a couple of quid on referencing is maybe a short-term outlook in some cases. So. That
sounds true. I think I asked you for 3. I always like to get a few throwaway stats as well. And these certainly aren't throwaway stats. These are keep hold of, because you were saying 95% of references completed within a day. That's stand out there. 20-minute average customer support response time. In this, you know, the problem with this, where everyone goes digital, it's not per se the act of going digital, is it? It's the fact that when you do need help or anything there, that then suddenly you get lost in the huge digital chasm. So it's quite challenging to keep hold of that customer service ethos, and clearly you're doing it there. And then the final stat that just jumps out of you, just sort of reiterates it all, is even when I don't understand, and I famously don't understand half of the stuff I see, where I delve into it is where I can see strong belief from the clients there. And as you highlight yourself, 100% of your clients would recommend you to another agency. Now that's kind of, you know, that's just, you know, the rest of it's just fluff, isn't it? If that's what you can do at the end of the day, that's really important to get that kind of belief.
Exactly it, Simon. We're grateful for that. We survey our clients every year, and that statistic came out this year of 100%. So they would recommend us. Our churn rate is incredibly low, to the point where, and again, this is where we differ somewhat from our competitors, is we don't lock you into a contract. We're not there going, great, fantastic, locked in for 12 months. Yeah. In theory, Ed's free to walk away today. Please, you know, don't, Ed. We'll have a conversation about that after.
That'll make the release really difficult if that happens, to be fair. But,
but it gives us, I think, a bit of trust. Yeah. Where we earn your business. It's not there because you're tied in because of the small print.
It's put your money where your mouth is, isn't it? When you, those companies that do work without, you know, long contractual terms like that really have to step up to the fore. But of course, it then becomes much easier. Well, I mean, you're not doing that for no reason. Of course, is the fantastic thing is how much easier it is to try the service without any feel that you're being tied into a long thing. So you're looking at the long game there, and I think that's to be applauded. And the other thing is just to point out, this is not like you're a prop tech that has just started up in the last couple of weeks and you've only got a few clients. I mean, just I'm sure you wouldn't mind me saying, you know, you've worked with the likes of Savills in the past. You've got Jackson Stops there. You know, these are big names, and they are famously, as I said, I would get them shouting at me because I used to describe them as high maintenance. But they will let you know if you're not delivering the very highest level of service.
Absolutely, and that goes actually, I would say, across. You know, we have agents, single branches, independent, family owned. We have hybrid agents. We have online agents. We have new disruptors like Ed there, and all of them will pick up the phone to me if they have a problem. None of them are shy, and that's the way I like it, because otherwise we can't learn, we can't grow, and if we don't, we'll stagnate and we'll get overtaken by the next shiny new prop tech that comes along, and we're in it for the long game. So
excellent, good to hear, good to hear. And so just on the basis of how people would get to do this, is there a trial version for agents that are new to RentProfile, or because of that lack of contract, is there not a need for it? Just talk us through that element of it.
no, of course we're very transparent with that. That look, anyone who wants to trial us will offer 5 free tenancies, you know, to Kerfuffle clients. It's not an issue, and with us there's no obligation or a contract or anything, as I mentioned before. So purely, we'll demo it, we'll try it on a few tenancies, we'll get your feedback, and if you don't like it, we'll walk away. We're not picking up your credit card details, we're not getting you to sign this in between. We can have you set up and going in 20 minutes. So I think it's a very, again, we're open, we're transparent, and it works for both parties.
You've given me the perfect opening there, so I'll have to be a bit gauche and say, can you just talk us how the pricing model works for the clients that do come on board? What can you tell us on that front?
Of course, so our standard pricing is on our websites, and we charge £18 plus VAT per tenant, and that covers, again, there's no small print or hidden charges. You know, we charge extra for our right to rent, which I can talk about separately, but in terms of your referencing, your holding deposits, you know, if there's card fees in there, we absorb that. So everything is very transparent and upfront, and it's pay as you go, Simon. So if you, as some of our clients don't, if you don't run any tenancies in December, then you don't pay us. So
excellent. And Ed, so this must feel quite comfortable for you, because I think what we're firmly looking at here, isn't it? There's a lot of businesses out there that are suppliers to the industry. It takes a special sort of company, though, to be a partner with, doesn't it? And it feels like they're more, RentProfile, certainly for you, is in that category. Would that be fair to say?
I think so.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, the no contracts, but it's good that, you know, it's pay to play, which is great. I think the other thing I forgot to mention is, because it reduces so much of the admin. For instance, some of the other high street agents will charge a £400 or £500 admin fee to set up a tenancy. Now, look, our agents are self-employed, so some of them do. Me personally, my clients, I drop that charge, because the amount, it's not even worth me charging for the amount of time it takes me to process the tenancy, and it gives me that extra competitive edge when I'm valuing. So yeah, that's another definite plus point.
Perfect, that's great. Well, let's just reiterate then. So in terms of, you know, the 3 takeaways, you know, letting the properties sooner, as you were talking about, 95% of those, was it within 1 day, was it?
Yeah, the whole process, on average 2 days, but as quick as 2 hours, we've seen it go through end to end.
Amazing. Free yourself from admin. Everybody wants to free themselves from admin, of course. But the final one as well, that most important tick box that Ed said there is, you know, staying compliant, because people are getting hit left, right, and centre, aren't they? And it's only going to increase if you don't stay on top of it in this vital area. Cool. Okay, guys. Look, I think it's really good to hear, you know, first of all, just on a wider level, that sometimes it's a bit of an uneasy relationship between suppliers in the industry and the agents. So to have a company that clearly does listen to its client base is great to hear there. And Cohen, you just mentioned before as well, there is a deal, isn't there, for anyone on the Kerfuffle website? Just log in. It's free to log into the website. Have a look at the deal there. And
of course,
you said, a bit of a no-brainer.
Kerfuffle clients, and as I say, that free trial as well. So please do get in touch, try us out, compare us to your processes at the moment, and we'll take it from there.
Beautiful. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining me today and sharing all this information. I feel like I know a lot better there, and obviously with, you know, right where we are right at the start of the year, perfect time to look at this area for building ahead and finding the right partner for this part of the business. So to be applauded, and look forward to hearing from you soon.
Pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.